In this video, we will show you how to replace your outside power mirror on this Honda Civic. You'll have one of these attached to each one of your front doors. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. The first thing we want to do is have a quick look at our brand new mirror. What you're going to find is it came with two panels separated from it. That's so you can have it paint matched to your specific color of your vehicle if you'd like. Once you have those panels matched, we can continue on with the installation. Now, if you were looking at the back side of the panel or the inboard side of the panel, you're going to find that it has several locking clips that need to fit into their corresponding ports on the mirror itself. So we're just going to carefully bring this down. We'll rest it in position, double check, making sure that it looks as though it's aligned, and then we'll gently squeeze it together. Just a light squeeze here. I'm listening for some clicking noises here. Just pressing in on all of those locking tabs. Once you feel as though you do have it pressed in, just go ahead and give it a quick feel all the way around. We're making sure it's properly seated, and we'll continue on to the next panel. For the next panel, it's essentially the same thing here. We just want to make sure we have all of our locking tabs aligned, and we'll press that in as well. Okay, this is looking pretty good. Press that in all the way around. One locking clip out here needs to be set. There it is. Perfect. Now we can start removing our original mirror from the vehicle. For that, we're going to have to make our way inside the passenger compartment. On the inside of the door panel, we're going to start removing this trim panel, which houses several switches. For this, I'm just using a small plastic trim tool. We'll make our way in between the trim panel and the door panel itself along this forward side here and start prying it up along the way. There we are. Now on this far side here, it does actually have one tab that protrudes inside of this area approximately this far, so we're just going to go ahead and pull that out. There's that. Now as we pull this up and out of position, we can start disconnecting our electrical connectors along the inboard side. Let's start disconnecting the window switch wiring harness. For this, you want to look for this white tab. Inside of this area, I'm using my pocket screwdriver, depressing the locking tab, and now we can start pivoting this. This entire thing should pivot and pull this out and away from the switch itself. Just a quick inspection for corrosion, of course. That looks fine. Now we'll make our way up here towards where our mirror switch is located. That has a locking tab right over here. Just go ahead and press that in as well. You can use your finger or a small pocket screwdriver. We'll pull that out of place as well. There we are. A quick inspection will set this aside. Now with that out of the way, let's pay attention deep inside this area here. You can see a Phillips head screw. We'll start removing that. It's an anchor screw. Holds it to the door. Quick inspection of our hardware as we continue on. That looks good. Let's make our way up and behind the inside door handle. Up in this area, you're going to find that it has one small locking tab up along the top center. I'm just using a small pocket screwdriver so we can start pulling this panel out of place. Down along the bottom, you have locating tabs. There's our upper locking tab right there. That exposes our next Phillips head mounting screw. This one's considerably smaller than the other. We'll set that aside. To remove the door panel, continuing on, we're going to use a small plastic trim tool to separate the panel from the door. As we start having the bottom pulling away, we need to pay attention at that inside door handle. This actually has a small hook on the inside that you can't see, so we're going to slide the entire door panel towards the center or towards the vehicle, and then we should be able to lift it up and away from this area here. Got my trim tool. See if we can find a spot to get underneath this. Okay. Now here's where we're going to start sliding this. There we go. One more. Okay. Let's carefully pull this away. There are cables along the backside. Now I've got this door panel pulled away a little bit so we can gain access along the backside. We're going to start dislodging the inside door handle from the door panel. That actually has 4 locking tabs. There's 2 up along the top here that you can easily see. The other 2 are down along the bottom, a little bit more difficult to gain access to. But commonly, if you just go ahead and pop apart the upper portion by pressing down on the locking tabs, the rest of it should roll out of position. Let's try that. Apply some pressure here. There's that one. There we are. Easy peasy. Let's set that door panel aside. Now that we have the door panel out of the way, let's pay attention to this area along here. This is your vapor barrier. We do not need to remove the entire thing, but we do need to dislodge the corner where we're going to be accessing the mirror hardware and wiring harness. Along the upper corner, you're going to find that you have a small rubber grommet holding that vapor barrier in place. Should be able to pop that out of position. I'm just using a small pocket screwdriver for that. Now let's take hold of this. We'll start pulling it away. What you're going to find is that you have a whole bunch of black adhesive making its way around. This is extremely sticky and it will ruin your clothing if you get it on there. So let's just be careful with that. That exposes our mirror wiring harness. Start by disconnecting the electrical connector. Squeeze that in, pop it out of place. We have a mounting point here. You can either squeeze on these 2 ears with some pliers or just continue on with your pocket screwdriver 1 ear at a time. Now we can start removing our mirror hardware. For this, we're going to gain access to the 3 pieces of mounting hardware through these circular ports. We'll be using a 10mm for each of these. Let's start getting these out of here. There's one. Another one. All right, let's go ahead and grab onto that mirror and we'll start removing it from the door. Now that we have all 3 pieces of mounting hardware out of there, there's one more thing that we're going to pay attention to. Right up along the top area here, there's a small locking tab. You want to carefully try prying that downward and you should be able to pull the mirror out and away from the door. Pull that right out of there. There it is, friend. Let's prepare the door for installation of the new mirror. We're going to clean the mounting surface here on the outside of the door. Just a quick wipe, make sure nothing's rotted or damaged. Let's get ready to install that outside mirror. We're going to start with our wiring harness. Just go ahead and slide that right into the door. We'll take care of that in a minute. Now we're going to align the base of the mirror with the corresponding slots on the door itself. Get those studs right in there. We'll press it in, listen for a click. There we are. That should hold it in place for us. We can make our way inside the door. Now it's time to install our brand new hardware. For this, I'm just going to start it in my socket, but you're going to find that it's loose and it may potentially fall out into the door. To help prevent that, just use a small piece of paper here right up along the top of your socket and we'll put the nut directly inside there. That's going to hold this in place for us. Just looking for my stud. Start that nut on. Let's get the next nut on there. Replace your paper if necessary. Mine's still good, so. Last one. There we are. They're all started in. Let's snug them up. Now the next thing we have to pay attention to is our wiring harness for that mirror. You need to make sure that you have it along the right side of the window channel. We want to have it on the forward side here, out and away from the inboard side of the window channel. If you put the window down and the wiring harness is making its way along here, you're going to cause damage. We've got it in the proper positioning here, so let's go ahead and start in that connector. We'll get it aligned, press it in, listen for a click. A light tug confirming that's properly secured. The next thing we're going to want to do is make sure that we take up this slack. We want to make sure that this is mounted to the door so it doesn't potentially get caught on anything. You can either use a wire tie directly around the wire and around this port here holding it in place, or if you have one of those specialty wire ties with a small push clip on it, you can also use one of those. Let's go ahead and start bringing this around the wiring harness itself. We are not going to tighten this yet until we have it in proper placement. Press that in there. Okay. Take up that slack. Perfect. One last quick inspection in this area, confirming everything's properly in place and secured, and we'll continue with that vapor barrier, installing it into its original position. Go ahead and align that mounting port here. We have our rubber plug. Double check your vapor barrier. Let's get the door panel in place. Before I bring this up into position, there's a couple things that we'll mention. As far as the door panel itself, up where my hands are, there's this hooked area. That's going to go over the upper lip of the door. Other than that, as we make our way towards the center of the door panel itself, we remember we have those locking ears which do need to slide into that inside door handle. They should pretty much line up and press in. Continuing straight down, make sure you have access to your wiring harness. You don't want it down like this, and then you press this in, and you really can't pull it out of position. So we'll just make sure that's up in there. Lastly, as we get this up in a position, you also have a whole bunch of little push clips that will fit into their corresponding ports on the door itself. Let's get this in position. Coming up nice and high so we can bring that hook in. I can see my wiring harnesses, very important. We'll make sure this is aligned and also along the edges for those push clips, and then gently press this in. Double check, make sure it's properly aligned, and then finish off by pressing it in as far as possible, making sure it's properly secured. This is looking good along here. That feels good as well. Now we're just going to feel along the edges, confirming we're properly secured. If anything needs to be pressed in, go ahead and do that now. This feels good. Let's continue on with our mounting screw. Starting with our smaller screw here. Start that in. Use our Phillips head to snug it up. Now keep in mind you are only screwing into plastic. Now it's time for our small plastic panel. As you remember, along the bottom you have those two locating tabs. Up along the top is where the locking tab is. Pull out on that handle. Press it in. With that in place, let's make our way down towards the grab handle. We have our larger Phillips head mounting screw. Start it in, snug it up. All right, let's go ahead and connect this in along the back side. We'll start with our window switch. That's the larger of the two connectors. Let's go ahead and press that in, listen for a click there. Mirror switch. Audible click. Bring this around. We're going to start getting this in position. You're going to have to start with this area here, bringing it underneath the armrest. Just come in at an angle. Line it up, press it in. Okay, friend, we finished our installation. The next thing that you need to do is go ahead and test the functionality, align the mirror to your preference, and then take your vehicle for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.